Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Revive Me Bro Games. I'm your host, Silly Squirrel, accompanied by my goblin-slaying buddy, Master Rein.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to one of the 9 realms.
Have we played a lot of Valheim this past few months?
Yeah, dude. Our journey in Valheim has been, last few days, really, last few weeks, really. Hasn't been out for very long.
Dude, it feels like months.
It feels like months though, yeah, because like that time in Valheim it passes. Well, we technically have like 300 and something days within Valheim played, right? At least,
like
right?
500 plus hours. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And to think this game's early access. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. How you doing, my man?
Dude, been great. Been happy. Been glad that something this, $20 game came out that's made from a small studio. It's pretty incredible. It's good for gamers. Good for gamers everywhere.
Indeed. But before we get into the nice and juicy stuff, a little bit of a news regarding our recent hiatus.
Oh, well, quick. How have you been, dude? We could kind of go back a little bit. How have you been, dude?
I mean, I've been great, man. I've had to move to a new apartment. Which means that I didn't have internet for a few days. Work has been extremely busy, and it's only going to get busier. But we'll talk about that more in a bit.
Yeah.
Just a lot of life happening right now, and it's been like I'm good, but it's been challenging to put time on the pod and on the streams. Really, every day I think about streaming and playing Halo 3. Yes, we know.
Yeah.
And we're so sorry, guys, but we're really trying. But at the same time, like Master Rein and I have had chance to like think through what we want for the rest of the year, what we want to do in the next coming months. Like we did mention before how like in May we're gonna do possibly a Star Wars month and so forth. So like we have things planned. Like we're still gonna like do as much as we can for the podcast. Anything that we release, we want to release the best content that we can release for you, instead of just releasing something. And I know like in this day and age that is kind of looked down upon, like you have to release content every other day or something like that. But I'm a firm believer that I prefer quality over quantity. For sure. So yeah, guys, that's a little bit of news regarding our hiatus. But before we begin with the rest of our segments, Master Rein, PSA for the podcast, please.
Yes, everybody, we are available in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. You can also find us on Instagram at Revive Me Bro Games and on Twitter at Revive Me Bro. If you like this podcast and you want to support us, please subscribe and rate our podcast. It definitely helps. Also, check out our YouTube page with our latest and greatest streams and of course the pods. You'll always see a history of our streams on YouTube. This is the best way to support us, and please spread the word.
Yep. Thank you, guys. And again, once we reach 100, either on Instagram or YouTube, and actually wherever, if we reach 100, we're gonna do a giveaway, and trust us, you want to be part of this giveaway.
Absolutely, it's gonna be a good one. So keep an eye out for that.
But let's get to it, huh?
Yeah.
Let's get to some R&B news. What you got for us today, Master Rein?
All right, man. All right, brother. So the biggest thing on the radar right now is definitely Halo Infinite. I think Halo Infinite is going to be the biggest game of, like, the biggest release of 2020. We'll see what else is out there, but so far, the devs are really working hard on Halo Infinite. The graphics look better. They're working on the new grapple hook mechanics a lot. One thing that they've mentioned is that they're really trying to stay true to that Halo feel, like, that nostalgic sort of like Halo gameplay loop, which is good, right? But keep in mind that they're also adding a ton of new things to the meta, like the grapple hook, which is why they are, making sure that those new things really work well with the gameplay loop. And there's bugs with them and all those kind of things, which is why the game got delayed, right? So I'm really glad that they're taking their time with this and they're really looking at it in more detail. Really good, right?
But here's the thing. I just found out that they're not planning on making I just found out that there's no dual wielding. So don't you think that's kind of a missed opportunity?
We'll see when the game comes out. I mean, Halo 1 didn't have dual wielding. I guess it didn't, I mean, we did have it for a while, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of players, don't necessarily use it in games. A lot of them do. We'll see. We'll see when the game comes out because they're saying that they're trying to stay true to that Halo spirit. So we'll see.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, and that comes to mind is like, I'm not gonna necessarily miss dual wielding in regards to the campaign, but in the multiplayer, I mean, there's ever since Halo 2, like there's certain combos of weapons that you'd use to like get an edge on your opponent. So, again, I'm thinking more of like the multiplayer aspect, like not having dual wielding in multiplayer. I don't know, like it might feel weird at this point.
I think you're right, but I think the addition of the grapple hook is just going to be so different that you're probably not even going to need that second weapon because I bet people are going to be slinging around all over the place with a grapple hook. It's going to be like Spider-Man Halo.
I'm playing devil's advocate. Yeah. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate on this one, but like, I'm not like too bummed that there's no dual wielding, but I mean, considering how gamers nowadays will complain about really anything, it's like, no dual wielding. What the heck? It's like let's wait till the game comes out. Like, that sounds like a bummer.
Yeah.
But I like what you said. Like maybe we won't even notice it probably once we start playing with the grapple hook and stuff like that. But just something to bring up.
It's one of those things that like they're saying true to the meta of Halo, but then they don't have dual wielding. And another thing that they don't have is playing with the elites. So we'll see. But a lot of people liked it. A lot of people are just like or whatever about it. So
but it's like you're playing as Master Chief in the campaign, like. Unless they're talking about again multiplayer, then I get why.
Oh yeah, multiplayer. For multiplayer
issue.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Maybe it's a performance issue.
Yeah,
they're trying to minimize all that. But whatever. Like I'm just hoping the game comes out and it's so good that we don't we forget about these nitpicks.
Yeah. Which anyway. Another thing that they're adding is not adding, but what you can do with the grapple hook is skyjacking, which is when you grapple onto a Banshee and you're able to what's it called? Commandeer the Banshee, or just blow it up in the sky. Or in multiplayer, you'll be able to like grapple hook to one of your friends driving around and then get onto the car. That might be kind of interesting. We'll see how that works in the multiplayer, but I think that's why they are really delaying things because I think it's added so many new things that we won't know until the game releases to see how the community even reacts to it. So we'll see.
Aw, shit. Here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. What's the next item on the news?
A little bit of the next news is a little bit of anime news this time. So Demon Slayer, y'all. Did you guys watch Demon Slayer? Silly, did you watch Demon Slayer?
Bro, I binged the crap out of that season.
Dude, oh my god.
It is so good.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is so good.
They are doing extremely well in Japan and in the East right now. Extremely well. I'm sure everybody's known. But if you didn't know this, they're actually trying to get an Academy Award in the US. So they released or are releasing Demon Slayer in theaters for like a month in Miami so that they can be considered for the Oscar, which is crazy. But they should totally do it because I think they could actually win. Like the movie's going to be so popular. Speaking about the movie itself, we should hear an announcement on March 16th on when the movie's coming out. Whether or not it's coming out that day is still up for we'll see. But we should have the movie like actually being able to stream it and own it very soon, and I am very excited because that means that then we'll get the season 2.
I mean, it would be really nice to have another, I mean, I know like every year the Academy Award has at least one Japanese movie in there for like the animation, in the animation section. But it'd be really interesting to have like something like Demon Slayer, instead of another, what do you call it? That other studio?
Studio Ghibli?
Studio Ghibli, yes. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
I like their movies, but they're always there,
Yeah, like, I mean... instead of having like a Studio Ghibli movie, but I mean, those are great movies, but they're kind of like a microcosm of anime.
Yeah.
They're like Studio Ghibli movies are their own thing, like completely separate from like what we think of anime.
Totally true. So true.
You know,
Yeah.
Demon Slayer all of a sudden shows up in the Academy Awards.
That's
kinda
straight
cool,
up anime. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like straight. Again, I'm not saying that Spirited Away and all these other movies are not anime. It's just that they're very unique compared to all the other anime.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, in terms of art style and even the stories, like it's very unique.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, for our third piece of news, we're gonna get a new co-op game. More specifically, TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
Ooh, nice.
So if you guys ever played the 1991 TMNT Turtles in Time, you're gonna feel right at home. I never played the original TMNT games, and by that I mean like the actual cartridges. But I did play Turtles in Time thanks to emulation, and you know, it was so much fun. You know, like somehow my brother and I managed to play a little bit of it, like using the keyboard. You know, like he was over here, I was over there, and like come on. But yeah, like it's classic multiplayer brawler. It's coming out sometime, hopefully this year. They haven't announced the date yet, but I'm just really glad that we're gonna have an offline multiplayer game. Offline, like I'm sure there's gonna be online capabilities, but they're marketing it as an offline multiplayer game.
How many times do you hear offline multiplayer nowadays? Barely.
Never.
Barely.
So I think that's great. That means couch co-op isn't dead yet. You know? And I'm just really happy to see like something like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come out with a new game.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's exciting. Oh yeah.
And for our next bit of news, the Bethesda Xbox merger. Yeah. And I'm sure everyone's heard all about this, and you saw the live stream. But we got to
talk about it. It's humongous. So, Bethesda, obviously very, very legendary studio, legendary for too many reasons, great games and some not so great games and whatever, right?
Bugs.
Bugs. But man, dude, like, aren't those games like super big? Like everybody knows them, right? Anyways, getting away from myself. Xbox obviously bought them. They are now completely. This is real. Bethesda, Xbox, they are together. But not only are they releasing a bunch of games to the Game Pass right now, like the Doom games, the Fallout games, Skyrim, I think is going on to the Game Pass. It's great. That's great. But that's not even like the crazy thing about all of this. The crazy thing about all of this is that Phil Spencer is saying that the future Bethesda games that are going to be coming out are going to be exclusive to the platforms to where Game Pass exists. Meaning
that's insane.
Xbox and PC. Dude, what?
That's insane.
What? Okay. Okay. Give me your thoughts on that, and I'll give you my thoughts. Because this is a serious business move right there. Like, that is ballsy.
When I think of Bethesda, and when I think of like their games that release, they're very PC oriented. Like
good point.
You think of Doom, you think of Wolfenstein, you think of Wolfenstein, whoever you are, and you think of like Elder Scrolls. Like those are games that yes we've had in consoles, but it's like they're very PC flavored. You know what I mean? So It makes sense to me that like Microsoft buys them because it's like the games fit perfectly with not only PCs but like Xbox in general. Like
True.
True. Like I think I told you earlier that Morrowind you were able to play it on the original Xbox, and that was besides PC, that was the only other way you could play it, unless I'm wrong, but feel free to comment. So yeah, I mean, shit, man, like the fact that the new Doom and the new Elder Scrolls and the new Wolfenstein and Wolfenstein, whatever, are gonna be exclusives to Xbox. Like that's pretty damn big.
Yeah,
it's very, very big, and I honestly think that they might do like it's exclusive. We'll release it 6 months before we release it anywhere else type of believer.
That would be interesting, but normally we're talking about that when it's a Sony exclusive. And I mean, there's a lot of PlayStation owners out there for sure, but I mean, it doesn't compare to the amount of PC gamers there are like nowadays. Growing growing too. I would say that there's more like the growing numbers of like gamers, I would say that the PC gamers are growing more rapidly than the
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation gamers are growing right now versus even the Xbox gamers, right? Like I'm sure Sony's growing faster than like traditional console Xbox gamers, right? I'm sure that's happening. However,
Mm-hmm.
PC gaming, like just look at the graphics card shortage right now. Like yeah, you can't get the consoles, but like that graphics card shortage is like, dude, like a lot of people are trying to build PCs right now. Like I got a PC recently too.
I'm trying to build one right now.
You're trying to there you have it. So I mean PC gaming is like in my opinion the way, which is why I feel like Ghost of Tsushima and Bloodborne and God of War, whenever like those come out, it's like, hey, could we get them on PC too? This is just like, in my opinion, this is more like shutting Sony out, right?
Yeah.
Because Nintendo's not even in the picture. Nintendo's like in their own universe and they're
Yeah,
fine. But this
yeah,
is
man.
this is cutting Sony. Actually, you know what? No, because let me take that back. Skyrim released on the Switch. Actually, I forgot about that. So it wasn't Doom Eternal going to the Switch too. So no,
Yeah, eventually.
yeah, so yeah, Xbox doing this or Microsoft doing this really is cutting out those companies. And the way it makes me feel, it's like, I mean, we've already said it before, like Game Pass is like the Netflix of gaming or whatever, but it
Mm-hmm.
really feels like they're taking that strategy like to heart right now, and like they're
Mm-hmm.
really serious with it.
And I know that in every episode we talk about the Game Pass. Like, again, we're not Xbox fanboys or anything like that. Like, we just love video games, and so the
Yeah.
fact that, again, I pay $10 a month, and I'm currently playing like New Vegas. Yes, I know. I'm playing New Vegas, and I have the option to play like Doom Eternal now and Doom and and all these other games that aren't necessarily Bethesda owned, but it's like it's not a bad deal. Like if you get to, let's say, beat 2 AAA games in a month and you only paid $10, you're winning.
Yeah.
Like everyone
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah, everyone
So
wins.
unless you don't believe that, then I would love to hear your like a retort.
All right, let's
Seriously,
see.
Xbox, if you want to sponsor Revive Me Bro games, I'd be down.
Yeah, totally. And for those newest releases, when you want to play it, I'm gonna assume that Halo Infinite is gonna release on the Game Pass. Imagine like just not having to buy Halo Infinite and you can just download because it's on the Game Pass. Like,
Yeah, oof,
wow,
oof.
wow.
I should buy
The
Microsoft
that would,
stock,
dude.
brother.
That oh my god, dude. The amount of players that Halo's gonna get that very first day if people don't actually have to buy it. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All right,
Anyways,
let's move along.
well, enough talk about these infamous devs and their AAA games. Let's talk about this 1 GB game from a small team that's blowing everybody's mind. It's time to talk about Valheim, yo. It's time to talk about Valheim.
It's time for the main event. Yeah, so I got this. What is Valheim, you may be asking? Unless you lived under a rock. um, I'm going to read specifically how the developers describe Valheim. A brutal exploration and survival game for 1 to 10 players, set in a procedurally generated purgatory inspired by Viking culture. Battle, build, and conquer your way to a saga worthy of Odin's patronage. It's basically Rust without the assholes and nakeds. Okay, I added that last part. But before we begin, you need to know that A, this is an early access game. So that means B, that this review is a so far. The game only allows you to play the first 5 bosses, and from my understanding, there's supposed to be a total of 9.
That's freaking awesome. One for the 9 realms, perhaps.
Probably, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. And so, we already defeated the 5th boss. We haven't touched it ever since. We're waiting for them to update the game, but know that there's still more to this game, and they're going to be adding more to this game. So what we have right now as a review is what we think of it so far, and if you should get it or not. So to get us started, story. What story? There is no story. It's just objectives. And you know what? I'm totally cool with it.
Yep.
Because I love the way that the game just, the game throws you in there. They give you a little bit of lore, through the Odin's crows,
But
They
that's
like
about
kind of give
it.
you like a mini tutorial and describe you the world a little bit, but immediately you understand that okay, there's these 5 monsters and I need to kill them,
Yep. And you got to work your way there.
and
Yeah.
I gotta upgrade my stuff to kill them,
Yeah. That's
and
pretty much it.
boom, that's pretty much
That's pretty
it.
much
And
it.
then
Literally, like I mean, the essential, like literally, the backstory to the story is
mhm.
you died in some Viking land, and your spirit's now in Valheim, and that's it.
Yep, like
Yeah,
you're not in Valhalla yet.
you're not in
Gotta
Valhalla.
prove
It's kind of like a
yourself worthy.
purgatory. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so, but like it's the moment you get into the game, like it's so rich with Norse mythology and
yeah,
lore that in itself is like a good incentive to like really see how the bosses like look and fight. So
yeah,
it's like it didn't take much for me to be like I'm in.
yeah. Seriously,
Like
and
it was very simple. It's like
yeah,
these are
yeah,
the guys you need to kill. Figure it out. And I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah.
And then they give you a tutorial when like, oh, make sure you hunt, make sure you feed yourself, make sure you do this. But it never felt obtrusive. It always felt like it's like, hey, if you need help, there's these tips. But I mean, like we started, and maybe like the first 5 minutes I was doing the tutorial, but then after that I'm like, fuck it, man. Like I'm gonna build a house here and do
Yeah.
this and do that. Like
Yeah, but
so.
that's what's good about Valheim too in terms of like story, because it's like there's not really a story, but you just feel so like you're in it, right? Like you're
Mhm,
inside this place called Valheim, and it does, like when that bird does talk to you, right? It's like
mhm.
not the bird, sorry, not the bird, the stones. I meant to talk about the stones, because you do come
Oh
across these
yeah,
stones that have like poems or whatever, or sayings about the land, and when you first open
yeah.
them, they're in the Viking language, and it looks super cool, and then it translates to
They're
English because you can read
they're
it then.
yeah.
So little
They're
elements like
written in
that. They're written in what?
they're written in
They're
runes.
written in runes. Sorry, yeah, they're written in
Yeah,
runes, and then
and
they're translated into English for a second later, and it's super cool to see that little elements like that. And then sometimes you'll see a mysterious cloaked figure walking around. Who is that? Is that Odin? We don't know necessarily, but that's super cool. Like you don't, it doesn't do like anything. You can't talk to this person. He's literally, you might see him, you might not in your gameplay. I've seen him like 3 times. Silly,
I haven't seen them yet.
you haven't seen him yet.
No,
So
I haven't seen them yet.
yeah, so and we have a friend who's seen him like 5 times now. So it doesn't add very much to really anything, but it's super cool when it happens, because it's kind of like the G-Man in Half-Life, because it's like, oh, I
Mhm.
saw him, oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. Like another cool thing is like the more you research about Norse mythology, the more you get to appreciate um
100%.
the things
Yes.
they add in the game. So
Yes.
like for example, the crow that's talking to you is actually Odin, because Odin is the god of not only like the top god, but he also the god of knowledge.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
There's
and
also
his
what you can
and
buy
his
from a merchant is the Ymir flesh, and Ymir
mhm.
is like the queen or the first frost giant, if you can correct me there.
Yes, yes, it's the first frost giant. I mean, if you guys are watching Attack on Titan, you kind of get the connection,
You
right?
kind of get
Yeah,
another
yeah,
connection about the Ymir flesh, but
yeah.
it's an upgrade item that allows you to upgrade your the hammer. It's like a battle hammer,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's really cool that they added those elements, and they were so true to that Norse mythology.
You play this game, and then you kind of want to research more about like the Norse mythology and some of the meanings behind the naming convention and stuff, and it just adds to the experience, because then you start seeing like how deep and thoughtful these developers really went when it came to like, okay, we're gonna have this Viking guy in Valheim, like let's make it feel as Viking as possible.
Hmm.
So no story, but it's basically what you make out of it, right? Like, um, if you're into just going and building and stuff, like you'll create your own story. If you're into like the Norse mythology, you'll make your own story. Like, it's really cool. It's really open ended, and I love the fact that the game allows you to do that.
Yeah,
But
and
all right, but like
mhm.
sorry.
And I was gonna say the environment itself, with all the enemies and how it looks and sounds, really is a good character. Like it really is. Um, Really good at just telling its own story without having to be vocal about, oh, this is the land of Valheim. Here you fight creatures and da 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 da. No, it's just like it's just
Yeah.
there, and it's it's better that it's that way, honestly. That you just open the map and you're like, where the hell even am I? And it's just, yeah, it's done so in such a good way, reminiscent to games like Minecraft. Obviously, Minecraft, no story, you're just in the world. You know what? There's a dragon to fight at the end. That's fun, right? But here it's like there's not just one dragon to fight, you know, or one boss to fight at the end. There's multiple, and not only does your equipment just like you know, you grow in power, it just looks so much cooler as it grows and grows and grows. Whereas Minecraft, it's like your bow just glowed after it was like strong after a while, like, which is cool. Like, it was cool, right? But like, nah, dude, like they're taking their time to design some really cool things, which I guess leads us on into talking a little bit about the graphics.
Yeah, so guess what, guys? Another Unity engine game. Man. Unity is killing it with all these cool games. I mean, if you remember from our last, from a few reviews back, The Forest was made on the Unity engine also.
That's right. Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, so, I mean, forget Unreal Engine. It's like Unity's the way to go, apparently.
Whoa.
But anyway, it's just something to point it out.
Yeah, interesting.
The game, in terms of graphics, is beautiful.
Yes.
It is breathtaking. I mean, you might be thinking, but isn't it pixelated? Yes and no.
Yes and no. Well, it's one of those, you have to see it to believe it, because you look at the pictures and you see the pixelated things and the deer and whatever. It looks like, it looks all right. But then you get in it and you're in the world and it's like, wait a minute, this looks like it's all like it's alive. Like, you forget that you're looking at pixelated art and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, think of it this way. Like, the way I see it, it's like it looks like Minecraft, but instead of square edges, they're all round and more detailed. So like, again, like, and if you're playing Minecraft now with like with one of the newer, like with ray tracing, for example, like Minecraft looks gorgeous, you know.
Beautiful.
So if Minecraft looks gorgeous, imagine this game, which is it really is a very pretty game to look at, you know.
Yeah, the water does look really cool. The ocean, when it starts like roaring and stuff, it looks serious, right? The lighting too. That was gonna say, the reflections and the reflections of the armor and like of wet surfaces is probably my favorite thing. It looks spectacular. There's a green fire and a green torch you can get, and the green torch reflecting off armor and stuff. It just looks really, really good.
Yeah, and I mean, like, God, like, even when there's like that day and night cycle, like it's just when it's the afternoon, you know it's the afternoon. You know? Yeah. And and a really cool thing, one of our friends actually built a solar what do you call those? Like a solar clock? There's a name for those.
Sundial.
A sundial, thank you. Shout out to Bullet Magnet. He built his own sundial, and it actually
worked. That was impressive.
It actually works. I couldn't believe that he had the foresight to do that. And I was like, dude, what is this? He's like, oh, it's a sundial.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it says here it's 2:00. And then I'm like, wait a minute. And I look and it's like, yeah, it's the afternoon. And then I'm like, I'm going to wait till it starts getting like darker to test this theory. And it was working. Yeah, it was like telling it was like 5:00, 6:00, and then the sun started going down. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, and here's the thing, we're like gushing over like this game's graphics and stuff like that, and like obviously if this game was worth $60, I think we would be looking at it a little bit differently. But because the game is $20, right, and in early access, it's like, whoa,
we're being a little more forgiving. We're being definitely more forgiving.
We're being more forgiving with it. But that's the thing, though. But with a $20 game, like, this looks like, it looks really good. Like, it doesn't look like they're lacking in details, like, whatsoever. Like, the environments look rich, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then moving on, like, you know, when it comes to like each stage, because the world's really big, you know, it's huge. Like, we've maybe explored like 12% of the whole map, and we had 8 players playing with us, and they were all doing their own shit at one point. But you look at the map and it's like, it's not that much that we've explored.
Yeah.
Now you're probably thinking also, but if your friends explore different areas, you can't really see that on your map. Well, not only did we get our own server, but we also installed a mod that allowed us to share, like
The information.
our maps.
Yeah.
So anything that they explore, we get to see on our map in real time. And even then, it was, I swear, like not even 12% of the map.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it blew my mind. So, but again, anyway, regarding the map and the graphics, it's like you have these different sites or different. I have it written down here. Sorry. So each of the stages in this game is very different. Like you have your swamps, you have your plains, you have your forest, you have your caves. And the great thing about the game is that the moment you get to the swamp, like you know you're in the swamp. When you get to the plains, you know you're in the plains. You know, they have a very distinctive art style, you know, and feel to them that it's really what makes the exploring so rewarding, you know. That like, you know, that right around the corner there might be something slightly different, instead of just forest and more forest and more forest and more forest.
Yeah, of course.
And each of these stages, they also contain different enemies. So like in the forest, you'll have a lot of like trolls and gray dwarfs. And by the way, trolls, oh bro, like first time we saw them, what a treat.
Yeah.
In the plains, you'll have
trees.
like yeah. In the plains, you'll have like goblins and death mosquitoes, and you'll learn to fucking hate death mosquitoes.
Yep.
But you have loxes, you know, and then when you get to like more of the colder areas, you have a lot of wolves. So
Yeah.
It really does, like, it adds a lot of variety, you know, to like the enemies and stuff. And even though the enemies look quote unquote cute, like they're dangerous.
So dangerous. A freaking mosquito can one hit you after you've defeated 3 bosses.
Yeah, like you feel like tough shit, and then it's like no.
No, little boy, no, little child, you are not strong. Actually, you think
Yeah.
you can go fight Odin, but no, you can't.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, but going ahead, like yeah, also the sound design is fantastic. I think the music might need a little work. It feels a little generic.
Yeah, when
And
you're
what I mean by that,
hanging around the plains and hanging around your base, there's not like a ton of difference in the songs that happen and stuff like
like
that.
a lot of times, our group and I, we would use the music bot on Discord to like play, you know, some like bands like Water Gem and some other like very Viking-esque oriented music, to really get in the mood. Because the music in the game wasn't really doing it for me. You know, it was very generic. It was peaceful.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's like you kind of want to hear more, you know, Viking-esque music.
Now the boss music I really liked. The boss music was awesome.
They killed it with the boss music.
It was awesome. But it was like all their effort went into creating like the perfect boss music, and then they were like, all right, everything else will just put little violin music in the background. That's it.
Exactly. Which is fine because it's still early access. They can change that, right? But at least they have it there, so we know it's like okay, like it's kind of like adding flavor to the thing.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, it really does help enrich the environment too, because you are in areas just mining away for a really long time, so you do want to hear something a little bit different. You know, you do want to hear that change of pace. And sure, when the enemies show up, you know, the songs do change and stuff like that. But you know, it's not like something like Minecraft. Minecraft's music was just absolutely beautiful. But yeah. That's also Minecraft.
Yeah. So that's what we think about the graphics. Now let's talk about mechanics. So the mechanics really fall into there's two different like sections to the mechanics. There's the building, and then there's the combat. So let's start with building. When we mean building, we mean everything regarding like crafting, breeding animals, collecting the resources,
your base, of course.
The base building, and all that stuff, you know? And so you're basically going to be doing one of two things. You're either going to be building your base up and building your gear up and then fighting enemies and bosses. That's basically the loop. You know, you like upgrade your stuff, you go and fight the boss. If
you get
you
to
defeat
new area,
it, then you go back, upgrade again. You know, like it's what?
No, I was gonna say after you defeat the boss, you go to the new area and then you get wrecked.
Yeah, no, seriously. So it's like there's this constant loop of trying to like get better gear. So if you've played games like Monster Hunter, you're gonna feel right at home. You know?
Yeah.
But like the crafting is very fascinating because it's not as easy as you think.
Really kind of I have an issue with the crafting. It's kind of how hard it can be to create the materials that you want to create, because
Mm-hmm.
of how much mining and grinding there's involved, right? And it just doesn't feel like it's balanced, like the things that you need. Because, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you need way more iron than any of the other metals combined, because or maybe not any of the other metals combined, but I feel like you just need way more iron than usual, or the any like even than like silver, or like the end metal, which is the black metal, which is the one that we have now, the
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
unquote the end game metal right now. But iron, you need iron to create like you can build up your base bigger with iron. There's a lot of things you can put into your base with iron. You need to build your boats with the iron nails. Iron also can make more endgame weapons and armors. It's like, all right, like why is iron so needed? And then why is iron so hard to get compared to everything
Mm-hmm.
else? Which is the thing, because like tin and copper, like you can find just boatloads of it. Maybe the tin can be harder to find than the copper, but you still can find a boatload of it, right? But in
Mm-hmm.
order to actually find iron, as far as we know, and maybe they're going to add more in a game. It is early access, but an issue that we currently have, if this is something that they want to keep, is that the only place to find iron currently are in the sunken dungeons in the swamps, and you need a swamp key to go in. Swamp key is not that hard
Mm-hmm.
to get, whatever, right? Not that hard to get, but to actually have to only go in one specific area, that you have to get lucky first of all to even hope that there's a sunken dungeon in there, because a
Yeah.
lot of swamps don't even have sunken dungeons. But let me tell you, most forest areas have boatloads of copper that you can mine. It's just everywhere, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
mountains have silver, like all over the place. I've only seen like one mountain that didn't actually have silver on it, right? But the swamps, dude, like I will like go through a bunch of swamps and never see a sunken dungeon, and I
Huh.
feel like there's an issue there. And maybe, hey, maybe it's just a specific seed that we're using, right? Maybe it's just that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but the way it feels like to me is like, if such an important material is going to be so needed, like well into the end game as well, then I think you just need it needs to be easier to get, right? And then there's not even that question. There's also the question of actually transporting those materials to the place where you're going to be able to make the best weapons and stuff. But let's say like you want to create like I don't know, it may be just like a certain arrow or something in your crafting table, or a certain like material that you just need for the area. But the crafting table you have just can't create it because it's not upgraded enough in the
Mm-hmm.
across the map where you're at. Well, if you have metal, you can't actually transport that metal to your base if you have a portal, unless you cheese the game. And that, in my opinion, there's a big issue there. I feel like there's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Um, they need to address it. They need to address, either they need to give you a crap ton more iron, in my opinion, or they need to make it so that you can go through the portals with the iron a lot easier, or something. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with crafting, like it can be difficult when it comes to certain items that you need, especially like iron specifically.
Yeah, dude. No, they definitely. And it's funny that you say that because one of the other game mechanics is teleport. And to teleport, like you from one area to another, do you have to obviously go and explore the area, and then you build a teleporter. But here's the catch: you can't necessarily move that iron and anything and any of those like high grade, um, high grade like materials like
Rare,
through a
like rare
teleporter. You have
resources,
to,
yeah,
huh?
like rare
You have to actually
resources.
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying rare resources is what I'm saying. Like those
Yeah,
things
and
can't go through the teleporter.
yeah, and so you have to like fucking walk all the way back.
Yeah, or take a
Or
boat
build another
back.
base or something like that. Or like, I mean, I think it's an interesting mechanic how like basically it forces you to basically have all these different bases all around the world. which makes sense considering how fucking huge the map is. But it also at the same time, it's like, well, you already have what you need at the main base. Why can't I just take it there? And they're like, you can, but you gotta like go all the way back, and that can be like a fucking like 45-minute like.
Sure. Yeah, that can take a really long time, and
not just that, but you also have to think of like the enemies that you're gonna encounter along the way, and make sure you're prepared and you have the right food. Like it's, I mean, I'm not griping about how hard it is. What I'm griping at is that, like, it almost feels too hard at times. Like, yeah, you can just build up a new base and just go with it. But then again, you're adding more time.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like padding almost.
Yeah.
Like, why is that? Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like added gameplay time. Why is it that I have to take
these things, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, sadly, we had to, like, figure out ways to cheese it, and that's not how we want to play the game. But due to the amount of like time we were already spending, it's like it felt like we needed to do that to save time.
Yeah.
You know, like
exactly.
You know, like Master Rein and I, like we have wives, we have kids, you know, and
I can't spend all my time transporting my iron.
Exactly.
That day.
It's like we want to move things along too, so you know, maybe we feel it because we have other responsibilities. Maybe someone who has all the time in the world is like, no, I kind of dig it, and that's great. But for us, it's like it's a hindrance.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, you know what? Maybe they can add mounts and horses and carriages and you can like you know and maybe like trains and things like that you can actually like transport things and make it like an automatic way to transport stuff. So it's not going through the portal. You still have to wait for things to transport, but there's a way to do it. Maybe they'll add something like that, which would be really cool. But as of right now, it just feels like it doesn't even like we're not trying to like say like, oh, it's just too hard or whatever. It just feels like it's just too much added gameplay time that doesn't actually have to be there. If it doesn't have to be there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, when you get all this material and stuff, you know, and you want to like build up your base, here's the thing: the base is not as building a base is not as cookie cutter as, let's say, something like the Forest or
Minecraft.
I guess you can say Rust or Minecraft.
Yeah.
You actually have to think about the structural integrity of your building.
Yeah, you'll be a structural engineer by like your first playthrough.
It's insane how cool it is. Like it sounds like a lot of hassle, but it really isn't. It's
a good amount of hassle for that. For that, I appreciate.
Yeah. Because once you figure it out, it opens up the amount of stuff you can do. Like, I mean, you Master Rein, like you built this like deck. Basically.
Yeah, I built a deck over a ravine. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, and there was all these like these pillars supporting the deck, and it works.
Yeah.
It really works.
Yeah.
And it's dope.
Yeah. You know what else? Like the way that they constructed, like how you have to build, like structurally, it makes sense with Viking architecture. So even without you trying, the things that you built will look like Viking architecture, and it's super sweet. Like you know, like the deck that I built, like I wasn't trying to make it look like a Viking deck, but it looked like a Viking deck, right? Your watchtower, the one that you built, like it totally looked that totally looked like a legit like Vikings actual watchtower from like a history book, you know. Some of the bases that people have built, like, oh my gosh, like that is freaking like
the architecture is a lot of fun. And if you guys remember Luis from our Forest review,
shout out to Luis.
He went nuts.
Oh man, it was beautiful. He had ascended into a different plane of reality and created some structures that I didn't even think was like. Every time we entered the game, it was it had evolved. Like every single time, it evolved. And Luis would be there, like, oh guys, there's this and that. Go check it out.
Yeah, and then like he spent 3 hours of real time just figuring out how to build a better like he was like building this like room for us, but like he also wanted like a chimney, and then he decided to do 2 chimneys, and then he was trying to like make it look pretty. And dude, he spent 3 hours. He didn't go to bed until he finished the damn thing.
Legendary, bro. Legendary.
Yeah, no, our base looks pretty great. Like, I mean, not as like ridiculous as some of the Reddit posts I've seen. You know, like, oh my god, that looks amazing. But like, if you, I built this like really cool tower, and it was like really really high. And so when with Luis's help, of course, like when we go all the way up and you see like the rest of our base, like it's a freaking castle. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so like, and just seeing how like everything like is nice and cohesive, and we also have like an arena and all that. It was really dope. Like he went crazy. But long story short, the architect, the building mechanics in general are very robust and pretty good. Like, yes, they can use a little bit of ironing out, but overall, like, it's incredibly satisfying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Now let's get into like the combat. The combat is very very simple. You have a normal attack and a heavy attack. You have a wider range of weapons to use, from bows to swords to spears,
arrows,
to hammers,
bows and arrows.
Like, and then those hammers, you can have like a frost hammer or this type of hammer, and then you can upgrade your sword from a bronze sword to like a steel sword, and like it's there's weapons wise is exactly what you expect from like a Viking game.
Which is really cool that like in its early access state right now, the weapons that we have at the 5th boss are like a frost hammer and the poison bow, and like like it's
there's
really
enough
cool
variety to keep experimenting.
I already feel like there's a lot right now, and then there's still like they want to add like 4 more bosses, and every boss is going to be like a different area with potentially new things you can upgrade to. Dude, I want to get like Thor's hammer eventually. I want to make that. I want to make that. Oh my god,
that'd be amazing. But yeah, like you get to build a lot of like you build shields, new armor, and stuff like that. And so basically, when you upgrade, you go out, you fight the boss, you beat the boss, and then you go back, and let's say you feel like hot shit, and you go to the other boss, and then they like. Yeah, he's like, oh, you think you can beat me with that stuff? Please,
Yeah.
And not to say that beating a boss is just about like raising your stats. It's also about like using the correct weapons and the correct potions. So we didn't even talk about that, like the food, like the cooking mechanic, the potions mechanic. Like
of course.
It's very deep.
Yeah, there's a lot more there too.
You can build trophies and you put them on the walls. You can build chandeliers. Like there's a lot we didn't touch, but we kind of need to move on, But you get the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
In regards to the bosses, since we've been talking about them so much, each boss is basically this like legendary Norse figure. And not to go into like the names and stuff like that, but like a quick Google search will show you that each of these bosses there's a theme to it. Hold up. There's a theme to it, and oh my god, there's a lot of noise.
That's not too bad. I didn't hear too much.
Okay, there's a theme to it, and like each boss has its own unique challenges, and they're huge. So again, if you've played Monster Hunter, you're gonna feel right at home because it's like basically fighting one of these like these big beasts, and also the more players you bring with you, the AI will adjust accordingly, and so they'll have like more health and do more damage and stuff like that, just to make it like a little bit harder.
Which is good because you're not cheesing it like by like being like, all right, everybody, let's go murder this.
Exactly. Like the game knows that's like, oh, if you bring 10 players, then that's gonna be a little too easy.
Yeah.
So the boss they change that, which I appreciate.
They scale it well. Yeah.
The bread and butter of this game is the bosses. Like it's the main reason why you upgrade everything and you build your base and stuff is to fight these bosses, and they're spectacular.
Dude, I would love to see like boss challenges into the future and future updates. Like you can like do the boss, but if you instead put a different trophy instead of the one it normally takes, like a secret trophy, then the boss will activate, but it'll be overpowered this time, and it would actually drop like a legendary item that you can use to craft like a legendary weapon with or something like that. Mm-hmm. That would be really cool, like because then it would give you an incentive to go back to every single boss again and like kind of fight them over, and get like new things from them and new challenges. It would. I think there's a lot. There's obviously, with everything that we're saying, there's a lot to this game that they have available to them that they can do.
Exactly. So it's you know, the loop and the enemies and the boss battles, like it's very satisfying, and you always feel like the game's not like. There's moments where you feel like the game got easy, but the game will also remind you that there's, you know, like, oh, you think this is easy, okay.
Well, here's a mosquito that'll kill you in one bite, you bitch.
Yep. Like, we would not traverse to the plains until we beat like the third boss, and that was like, and we're talking about like 40 hours of gaming at this point, you know, and we like, oh shit, there's the plains, don't go there, you know.
Yeah, it's really funny when our first like buddy found the plains, and he's just like, or like our first few buddies like go into the plains, you know, exploring, and then you just hear them run out. Oh shit, a mosquito! Oh, I died, guys, I died. I need to go get my stuff back. Oh, and they go get their stuff back, right? And you always hear, oh, this stupid mosquito is still here. He's guarding my stuff. Guys, I need help. Oh my God. And like, oh my God. Like at the first, okay, as soon as you finished, what was it? The bone mass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As soon as you finish the bone mass, the third boss, and go into third boss and go into the plains, you're not ready. Like you are not ready.
You think you are, but you're not.
You're not.
So I like how the game balances itself out like that, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, you feel a little too overconfident, and the game will bring you back down. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, which really does make you want to stick around for longer, right? Because it's like,
because you want to get better.
You want to get better. Like in Minecraft, at one point, you're just like the god of Minecraft, right? You know, in other games, at some point, like you're just it, right? But with this, it's like, little one, no. You think you're gonna leave Valheim? No, sir.
Yeah, so I don't want to compare it to like Dark Souls, but I have an urge to say something about Dark Souls. It's like whenever, like, you know, you play Dark Souls for the first time, you know, you're gonna get your ass whooped. You're gonna die, you know. But the more you play, the better you'll get at it, and the more you'll start breezing through like the first few levels, right?
Right.
Once you beat the game and all that, you come back to play this game, and it's just gonna be like, oh my God, this is so easy. There's a very similar feeling with Valheim, where it's like, it starts really hard, you know, you get better, and not necessarily with like timing and attacking the right time, like not necessarily that. It's more of like you get better gear, you know, you're better equipped, you know, and then you start going into combat, and then you're like, oh, I got it, you know, and it's like that sense of like that you've made, like that you've learned, and that you figured it out, you know, on how to like fight. And a lot of it has to do with like if you have the right potions, if you've eaten the right food, because if you eat different foods, it'll give you more health or more stamina. So it's really all about preparing. Like the more you prepare, the better off you'll be. And so,
I think your relation to Dark Souls kind of does make sense, because the game is not being forgiving like whatsoever. Like the game will throw like 3 great dwarfs at you, and they will mob you and kill you, right? And it's just like, oh gosh, like literally like one of the weakest enemies just killed me. But yeah, and especially like if your armor's broken and you're out of stamina and you don't have a lot of health, like a gray dwarf and a couple necks will kill you. And necks are the little lizards, right? Which is really cool that, you know, that you have to be really careful with your health and stamina in that way. Which I think the last thing I want to mention on the mechanics side of things is actually the stamina bar, not the health, but the stamina, because I think more than anything else, I think the game is trying to work your stamina down, right? Because swimming really hurts your stamina. If you lose your stamina while swimming, you're gonna die. Like if you can't even run away from an enemy, you're gonna die. If you can't block from an enemy, you're gonna die, right?
Yep.
So stamina, and as soon as you start getting mobbed by the enemies, like that's it, because you can guard 1 or 2, right? Like depending if you're at the right level at the area, not overpowered, right? Then that means that like you can probably face off 1 or 2 enemies, but as soon as that third one comes around, like you're done, right? Like, or for example, when you enter the Black Forest and you see that troll, if you're you're going 1-on-1 against like 2 or maybe 1 gray dwarf, you know, and then a troll shows up, that's it. You got to go, because he's gonna kill you, but he's gonna catch up to you, and when your stamina runs out, that's it. Yeah. Right. It's not even your health. Like as soon as that stamina runs out. So I do actually kind of like how the game purposely, I think in a very vicious sort of way, does kind of go after your stamina bar. It really makes you work that stamina bar, and like you do have to upgrade yourself, like as you use your bow and as you run more and jump more and stuff like that, your stamina gets better in those things, or you get better at doing those things, right? Not necessarily stamina, right? The better foods that you eat, you get more stamina for that. But still, man, that stamina bar, you can max it out. It's still gonna go down pretty fast. Like
it's and it becomes a battle of attrition. It's like, how many items do I have to keep going, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing about the potion. You can't just chug potions. You can drink one, and then you got to wait. And if you drink one right after that, you got to wait even longer after that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's that way you're not just spawning the potion, you know? So
yeah.
For an early access game, it really does a good job in like balancing a lot of different things. You know, like with like the mechanics and the fighting and the bosses, like there's always this constant balance of things, you know, and I really appreciate that because the game never felt unfair. Like there were things that were like annoying and, you know, drive me nuts, but at the end of the day, it felt like, man, like if I would have gotten there with like, you know, a sausage or this or maybe some soup, I would have been able to survive longer. So
yeah,
you know, it never feels cheap unless you die or something happens because of a bug, you know.
Yeah.
Which takes me into our next section, the bad. Master Rein, is there anything in the game that you feel like the developers need to iron out or that you didn't like specifically? Any gripes?
Yeah, so my biggest gripe is, and I do understand that it's early access still, early access, but it's the performance of the game. So I thought that all of our computers were going to be fine running this 1 gigabyte game. However, as we soon found out, once our base got a little bit bigger and we terraformed the area a little bit more, we found out that the game started having issues. And in the Black Forest, where it was just the game generating itself and nothing else, I would get like 100, 120 frames depending on the area. In our base, it would drop to anywhere between 20 to 40 frames, which is a serious drop. I understand that there's a lot more processing going on in the area and things like that, especially when you're terraforming and your base and all the items and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I want to be able to terraform even more. I want to be able to build like Hyrule Castle, like on top of Minas Tirith. Actually, Hyrule Castle on Gondor, next to Minas Tirith, you know, next to Asgard, all together in the same area. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be able to do like what I want to do on the map, right? And like I want to like you can stress the game out, and obviously like in Minecraft, if you put down 1,000 bombs and blow it up, you're gonna blow up your PlayStation. But that's something that I would love to see, is just for them to improve the performance in the game and allow us to, in one area, really build and terraform that area like a crap ton. Now, that actually does bring me to one question though, and is this the reason why they don't allow metals to go through portals? Are they forcing you to build bases in those other areas? Or are they okay with you bringing everything back to one single main base? Because if they already know that having too many things in one area is going to cause issues, and maybe that's why they're forcing you to make other bases, then I guess that's something that's in the game code, and I guess I understand that's the reason why we would have to do it. But I would just kind of want to know if that makes sense.
For me personally, like one of the things that really gripes me from the game, besides performance, of course, is like the enemy AI. Like I know we mentioned already that you know, that's mostly about your stamina and your health and how to manage that. The enemy AI is like not the brightest.
True.
They do a job, which is provide a constant threat, but it's not like there's no intelligence behind it unless you're fighting a boss. Like when we're fighting like the goblins, they'll just like, you know, run at you like and they just run at you, you know? There's not really like you know, like they stay back or they I keep thinking of like the enemies in the forest, which are completely a whole different breed of AI. But there's this there's this weird feeling of like when you see an enemy and they just like bunch up on you, you know. And sometimes they just keep bunch upping on you when there's like other allies attacking it. So for example, like this one time, like this troll and these like gray dwarves were like trying to get me, and Master Rain here was just airing the crap out of them. And then no moment did they like turn around and now start attacking like Master Rain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no, they just kept following me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're like, no, we're gonna kill you. And so at that point, it's just like a bait and switch. It's like, oh, like you just keep running, and Master Rain just keeps arrowing them, and then they die. It's like,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking is that the enemy like knowing when to retreat or when to like flank you, or just a tiny bit of some sort of intelligence.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be cool to like be fighting the goblins, and then like way in the distance there's these goblins throwing rocks at you, and then they bunch up on you, you kill them, and then all of a sudden these like a second wave of like bigger goblins start attacking you. Like, I don't know,
Yeah,
like some form
that's
of
a good
strategy,
point. Yeah, because right
No.
now I see what you're saying. Because right now it really feels like the AI is designed to like work your stamina down, and like or like the game is designed in a way to like spawn enemies too that are just gonna like mob you. And I think that's like, and I
Exactly.
think that's more like the term, because like I have seen like the Fulings, the goblins, and the gray dwarfs retreat from me like ever so often. Like not often. Like honestly, it's not often. They mostly just rush me, but sometimes after I get their health down far enough, they'll go backwards a little bit. But like it's like that's about it. And it's not like it's what it feels like. What the game is really trying to do is get me to chase it so that it can just spawn something, so just things behind me, so it can kind of surround me. And I feel like that's always a strategy of the enemy. It's just always kind of like just keep throwing enemies at them, just keep throwing like the just spawn to things, right? But then again, it's like, they've programmed the enemy to fight each other. Like you can see a mosquito fight a troll, which is hilarious. But at the end of it, once you go into the base area, it all just kind of comes down to mob,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
So that's my main gripe.
Yeah.
It's not huge, but it's something that definitely I feel like the game can do slightly better. But it doesn't hinder the game. It's just something that I guess bugs me, pun intended. From time to time, our base would get attacked by like trolls and stuff, but it was like rare, And one time, it was just me and one of these players, Leo. It was me and Leo, and
shout out to
two
Leo.
trolls were attacking our base, and they wrecked. They wrecked our base. Thankfully, not too bad. We like all our items and stuff and things that we've built were somewhere different, but they completely like destroyed half a tower plus a few walls and stuff, and that was exciting.
Yeah,
it's like, oh crap, like, like we're having like it's a problem. It means that your base is not always safe, and I like that feeling.
Yeah.
So. And it's just, I wish there was more of it, where it's like every 3 days you'll get like a wave of enemies, and it doesn't have to be like insanely hard, but knowing that you're gonna have enemies will allow you to like, I guess fortify your base more instead of just making it look good.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that's the thing, dude. They actually they have the mechanic to where the enemies do attack your base. Like the base building and the base like importance of the base is definitely there, right? So it's like I want to have a gigantic base and I want an army to come attack my base. Like how cool would it be if like the map tells you an army is marching towards you and will be there in 1 week, right? Because you do have days in the game, right? So you can literally have 7 days in the game, and you have to prepare because an army is marching, an army of trolls and goblins and Fulings and everything is marching to your base, and you can see them on the map marching. Dude, that would be freaking sweet, dude.
Damn.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
That would be sweet.
Other than that, anything else that you think of that the game can do better, or
mounts?
Or are we good here?
Well, the portal system, without getting too far into the portal system, there's a great debate on it, and do you have any thoughts on the portal system before I go too far on it?
No, nothing. I mean, I feel like we already
talked
about
that
it, so,
that's just something to keep an eye out, really, just to see what the developers are going to do about it, because they're going to do something about it soon. But mounts, that's the only other thing I would love to see is mounts. I would love to ride a horse through the plains, with my bow and arrow, shooting goblins and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, or writing a Vox. That would be super cool.
Oh my god, yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go into the ratings then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Now, the reason why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 is because this is not a complete game. There's still a lot of like bugs that happen, especially like when you cut down trees or when you like dig too deep and like stuff that can be fixed, and there's also a lot of room for improvement. The game itself is already really, really robust, but you can definitely see the early access parts of it. A 7 for me means this is a good game that has a little bit of flaws and has a lot of room to grow. So if I give it like a 9 now, or like a 10, like it's not realistic because the game is not fully finished yet. So I can't give it a full rating if it's not fully finished.
Right.
So
That would be more like a.
Think of it as a 7 out of 7, I guess you can call it. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So the game's really good. I really love it. I spend a lot of time with it. Definitely get your friends over to play with you. That's literally the way to play it. You can do solo, but I feel like you lose a lot of the enjoyment. And of course, playing with your friends is always fun, right? Hence why we do this podcast. But yeah, overall, a 7 out of 10. Great game for the price. And I am looking forward to when the game is fully released.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'll definitely be playing it, more and more. Like, if anything, I played Rust when it was on early access, and now that it's fully released, like I still play it from time to time, and it's now it feels like a full game. Like, it really does. Trust me. So if Valheim's already like light years ahead of how Rust was when it was on early access, like this game is, if they would sell this game as is right now, it's fantastic.
It's a good game.
But knowing that they're gonna give us more, I have to give it a 7. So that's my rating.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I'm pretty close to you. I kind of like in my heart feel like an 8.5, but I think the game is more like a solid 8 in my opinion. Because of exactly those reasons, but I just feel like I'm being a little bit more generous in the sense of like it's a small team of developers and they've done this much, and it's and yes, we have all those issues, right? But like, man, there's a hell of a lot less issues than something like Minecraft when it first came out. Like, I know Minecraft had a lot of bugs, right? And you know what too? Like again, this is a small team of devs that have done this much and have stayed so true to a lore that have very much promised to do a lot to this game. I feel like in order for this game to be like a 9 or a 10, they just need to obviously add more, like, more armor that you can get, more things you can craft, fix the performance, of course, and obviously add those bosses and that kind of stuff. But I think also to be a 10, you need to have they need to allow the modding community to be the modding community, because I think the modding community can really have a lot of fun with a game like Valheim, and it could be like really cool to see what they can do with it. This isn't a AAA title. This isn't like a massive budget game. This isn't like a $500-700 million game that they're trying to make or whatever, anything like that, right? It's a small team, it's a small game, and it already has like 5 million plus players, and it's only growing like really fast every day. And just get ready.
Yeah.
Like, when the game comes out, like full access, I'm pretty sure they'll hit that 15 million mark like no problem. This is going to be very important for all the small time studios who, over the last few years are looking at the games like Madden and FIFA and Cyberpunk and all these massive titles like Anthem that EA was going to release, and like, how can they keep up with those big titles like and those big companies? But as you can see what they've done, they failed, right? Like, they failed in terms of what the name was supposed to be, right? Right now, it really is the time for the little studio to rise up and to really show us what they got. And Valheim is fucking impressive, yo.
Yep. No, I'm with you there. I think it's a good time to be an indie developer because not only are we getting very disappointed with AAA games lately, it's when you come back and play these smaller, quote unquote, smaller games, and you see that, and you see how far they want to push things and how they want to like present their experience. It's like, oh yeah, this is why I play games, because you want to try different things. You want to try different. You want to see different things, and they have this idea that they really love, and they are working hard on it, and it shows.
It's beautiful, you guys. They have hats off to you. I mean, early access, and you guys have blown my tits off.
Yeah, because a lot of times early access means really, really shitty.
Yeah. But
I'm looking at you, due process. Early access, my butt. That game could be so much better.
Yeah. But
right,
hey,
anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course on Twitch. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Actually, let me say that. And Twitch. Our podcast will be available where all our podcasts are. Our podcast will be available anywhere there's a podcast, really. Of course, eventually we'll post it up on YouTube, right? So remember to leave us a comment, rate, message us, anything to keep the community up and going. And we're looking forward to our next episode. We're also thinking about bringing some more of our friends to talk about some of these games and about news. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, this is a Silly Squirrel and Master Rein signing out.
Yeah, and everybody always remember to heal your teammates before they die.